Hey, my name's Eric Owen, and this channel is for Gen X. People roughly 45 to 61, I would say, who are navigating some of probably the most challenging transitions in their lives. And it's usually while everyone around them is acting like it's not happening. One of the biggest ones, the one that almost nobody talks about directly, is this. After 25 or 30 years of building a career, we have accidentally made that career the answer to the question, who am I?
I forgot who I am. Who am I?
What you discover is that underneath that title, underneath the role, you're not entirely sure who's standing there.
Who are you?
Question is, who are you?
That is not a personal failing. That is what happens when you spend 3 decades doing exactly what you were told to do. But it's a problem, and it's one we're going to talk about today, honestly.
How did we get here?
Oops.
Gen X was raised in a very specific way.
Chips, dips, chains, whips.
Most of us grew up in households where independence wasn't a value. It was a necessity. Latchkey kids, parents working. You figured things out for yourself. You didn't ask for a lot because there wasn't a lot to ask for.
Remember that aircraft carrier model?
And then you entered the workforce that told you, work hard, stay loyal, deliver, and you'll be taken care of.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
So we did. We worked the hours, we didn't complain, we handled it. And I want you to really sit with this word, competent. Deeply, reflexively, habitually competent. And competence became identity. I'm the one who handles things. I'm the one who knows how it works. I'm the one you call. 30 years, that was enough of an answer to the question of who you are. But here's what nobody told us. Competence isn't a role, it's not a self. And when the role changes, when you get laid off, when you retire, when you get pushed sideways, when the company you gave decades to gets acquired, and your institutional knowledge walks out the door with the lease, find out very quickly that those two things are not the same. The role was never you. It was just the thing that you were doing. But after 30 years, it can almost be impossible to feel the difference.
It's like a bad trip. I mean, talk about an identity crisis.
Let me describe what this identity crisis actually looks like in real life. Because it doesn't look like a Hollywood breakdown. It's a lot quieter and a lot more uncomfortable. It looks like going to a networking event or a dinner party, and when someone asks, "So what do you do?"
What do you do?
What?
There's a pause, a beat where you used to have an answer, and now the answer feels hollow or embarrassing, or like it doesn't fit anymore. It looks like lying awake at 2 a.m., not because you're worried about money, though that might be there too, because you have this vague, persistent sense that you somehow have become less. That something has been taken away from you that you didn't fully appreciate until it was gone. It looks like realizing you have no hobbies.
Hobbies?
Yeah, hobbies, interests.
Not because you don't have interests, but because for 30 years, work was the only thing that structured your time, gave you purpose, gave you a community, gave you problems to solve, and without it, or with less of it, you don't know how to just be somewhere. It looks like a weird grief, a grief that doesn't have a socially acceptable name. Nobody sends flowers when the job identity dissolves. Does any of this land? What I just described is not a weakness. It is the entirely predictable result of doing exactly what our generation was told to do. I want to talk about why this particular crisis tends to hit Gen X especially hard, because it's not the same for everyone. Boomers had a different relationship with work. Many of them had pensions, they had defined benefit plans, they had an exit that felt more like a graduation. Their identity around work often included a clear and culturally celebrated ending.
That's his retirement party.
Millennials were more likely to be told from the start that their careers would be fluid, that job hopping was normal, that the portfolio life was the thing, Their identity was never supposed to be locked to one employer or one title the way that Gen Xers were. Gen X got the worst of both worlds. We were told to commit the way boomers did. We gave the loyalty, we did the time, and then the systems changed rules mid-game. And now at 45, 50, 55, we're being asked to reinvent ourselves with none of the runway, none of the safety net, and none of the cultural celebration. Nobody throws you a party for being adaptable at 52. And underneath all of the practical reinvention questions, the resume, the networking, the pivot, there's this thing that doesn't get addressed. Who am I now if I'm not the one thing I spent 3 decades becoming? Okay, so if any of this resonates, where do you actually go from here? I'm not going to give you a 5-step listicle. That's not what this is. What I'm going to give you is 3 honest things that have actually helped people through this. Not theories, not affirmations, things that hold up. Number 1, stop trying to find a new identity before you grieve the old one. Listen, we're the generation that doesn't do grief well. We were not modeled for grief. We were modeled getting back on the horse. But the people who try to skip the grief, who immediately launch into what's my next chapter before they've acknowledged what ended, they tend to carry the weight of the old chapter into the new one without realizing it. You don't have to fall apart, but you do have to admit that something real is ending and give it about that much. 2, separate what you did from who you are. Competencies you built, the judgment, the pattern recognition, the ability to manage complexity, the institutional knowledge, those are yours. They don't live in the job title. They live in you. The job was the container. You are not the container. 3, get curious about who you are when nobody needs anything from you. Most Gen X people cannot tell you the last time they existed in a space that wasn't defined by someone else that needed them. The employer, the kids, the aging parents, the team, the partner. The question of who you are, independent of utility, independent of what you produce, is one that a lot of Gen X people have never had to answer. And it's terrifying. And it's also, maybe, the most important work of this chapter. So let's bring it back to where we started. Who are you when the job title goes away? The honest answer for most of us, I don't know, is we don't fully know yet. And that's okay. That is not a crisis. This is an opening. What you're feeling, if this is hitting close to home, the vague grief, the unmooring, it's real. It has a name, and you're not alone in it. Your competence, your judgment, your way of moving through the world, those belong to you. They are not on loan from your employer. And 3rd, the question of who you are beyond utility, beyond production, beyond the role, that is not a midlife crisis. That is a midlife invitation. If this video did something for you, if it named something that you've been carrying around but couldn't quite say out loud, I'd genuinely love to hear it in the comments. Not great video. I mean, tell me where this landed. Tell me what part sounds just like your life right now. Because this channel is built on a very specific premise. That Gen X has been overlooked long enough, that your experience is real, that the transitions you're navigating deserve more than generic advice. If that sounds like something you're looking for, please subscribe. We do this every week. And if you know someone that needs to hear this today, forward it. Sometimes the most useful thing that you can do for someone is to let them know they're not the only one asking the question. I'll see you on the next one.